this year, pop it though. Real talk, where we did. First National Bank. Oh, yeah, true. First National Bank. 21. First National Bank. We go hold you down. First National Bank. 21. First National Bank. Oh, yeah, true. First National Bank. 21. First National Bank. We go hold you down. First National Bank. Low key, now I the old boys into strange number from and pick. Now business I slow, me a nice boy, but girls in the framing tea. So I spoke to God.
Also check your bank.
Hey, now me sign and drink. I drink to me for car. I dey go Accra with some or some feet. Mona more black. First National Bank they kill headache, I bet for cope. Bro, real talk me quiet cope. Why pay attention to the rest and then I'm more check. Real Africa's #1. Trips to.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you're watching us from, and welcome to the second edition of the Home Chat Experience with First National Bank. This is a live series streaming on all our social media platforms and our YouTube page. We are here today to discuss a very interesting topic. The topic is building your dream home. If you have been struggling to put up your own house, or you know someone who's been struggling to put up their own house, tell them to tune in as we have some very interesting topics to discuss today. My name is George Asamoah Jamie, and I'll be moderating today's session. With me in the studio are some bright gentlemen here to help me unpack and unlock all your questions. So if you do have any question, make sure you put it in the chat box and we'll be ready to answer them for you. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George.
I hope you're as excited as I am.
Yeah, I am.
So to introduce my panelists, I have Edward Nyarko. Edward is the head of business development and strategic initiatives at First National Bank, Ghana. He's a professional member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors and the Ghana Institution of Surveyors with over 25 experience in real estate, quantity surveying, and project management. Also with us today is Ivan Boateng from DBS Industries. Ivan is a deputy sales manager at DBS Industries with half a decade of experience in leading and growing high-performing teams across the real estate value chain. He's very passionate about delivering exceptional customer service and creating long-lasting partnership. Welcome, Ivan.
Thank you.
Now, just before we hit the ground running, like I mentioned, tell your friend to tell a friend to join this discussion. It's going to be interesting. We're here to discuss how you can build your dream home. We'll just take a quick break so that we can get more people online before we hit the ground running. Welcome back. So gentlemen, before we begin, what do you think of our topic today? Building your dream home effortlessly. Can we unpack that a bit for our viewers? Edward.
Yes, so when it comes to the idea of building your dream home, I always believe that life without a dream is meaningless. And you also need to translate that into every aspect of your life. So that's looking forward to having your dream home and making sure that you've gotten the right advice, the right professionals to fulfill that dream. I think that is all life is about. So I'm excited to talk about this topic and help people achieve that.
That's great. Ivan, what do you think about the topic? Building your dream home effortlessly.
So everybody aspires to have his own home, whether big or small. So I believe us coming here to discuss home building and then getting your home effortlessly is a really good step in the right direction to educate people on how to get their homes and get it right the first time.
Thank you. Thank you. So, viewers, just as Edward mentioned, life without a dream cannot happen. Edward, let's begin with you. How do I start the home building process? What factors should I even consider in choosing the right location for my home?
Yes, so owning a home is, like I keep saying, is an investment. And it's a kind of investment that you want to get right. So you first obviously need land, and you need to acquire land in a location that I will call good. And sometimes we always think a good location is just airport cantonments, but a good location means that you have good access road, you have utility, water supply, power, you have good access to schools, you have good access to hospitals, supermarkets, because those are the things that go along with your living, and you want them as close to you as much as possible. So that's, once you can take those boxes, then you are sure that you've got your location right.
Very interesting thoughts. Good location is not all about the airport residential areas and all of that. Look out for infrastructure, water, electricity. Look out for schools for your kids. Look out for securities, the nearest police station, and all of that. Very insightful, Edward. But before I move to you, Ivan, Edward, I want to start this. Is there anything like a realistic budget in building my dream home?
Yes, so I like when people start thinking about budget when they are putting up their houses. The usual thing when you engage clients is, I want a 3-bedroom, I want a 4-bedroom, never do they think about budget. And that's why when you go around the city of Accra or everywhere, you see a lot of uncompleted houses, because we do not count the costs. At least the good book tells us that if you are going to build a tower, you need to know the costs before you build. So it's important that whilst you think about 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, you also factor how much you want to spend. And that should inform that decision process that you start from the onset.
Thank you, Edward. We will count our costs as we begin to think about our dream homes. So, Ivan, so at DBS, I'm sure you have a lot of people coming to you for some sort of guidance. And to Edward's point, in budgeting for my dream home, I need to think of all the building materials, that I can think of. Can you guide us through some of the regular things that I need to think of?
So thank you, Josh. So when you're about to build your dream house, we are thinking about casting your concrete, you're thinking about block, we are thinking about a roof, whether to choose trusses, whether to use wood, we are thinking about our sheets, we are thinking about the finishes, tiling, and we get a lot of people coming to us to ask for these things. So depending on what you want to see, or the end product, the finished product, we are able to guide you as to whatever you are looking for within the building space at DBS.
Thank you, Ivan. So whatever you're looking for out there, the industry experts and Ivan and his team at DBS will be there to help you. So Edward, and just to guide the conversation, so I have my budget ready. I want to put together a team for the development. Do you have any tips to share on this? How to assemble that perfect team to help me go through this process?
Yeah, thank you, George. So you obviously need professionals to guide you. First, I'm assuming that at this point you have your land. So you need an architect who would help you put your design. Usually the architect will give you, you'll provide the architect with a brief of what you expect to see in your dream house. And then they will put it into a design for you. And like I did mention, you also need a quantity surveyor who will give you an idea of cost. Because of the fact that you also need a building permit, you also need a structural engineer who would also provide you with structural drawings. Now, you know that times have changed. Buildings have become more complex. We talk about smart buildings. So obviously you need what we call a services engineer if to have a, let's say, an energy efficient building or a sustainable who can advise you on the things you need to put in. So you need these professionals to be able to guide you. And I always say that don't go to the wrong people. It will cost you more if you get it wrong. So make sure that you are speaking to the right people. But in selecting them, what I would also, it's good to use recommendations. Obviously, you know someone who has built his house. Get a recommendation from a friend. But don't just end there with a recommendation. Try and go and see what the person has done before. And give yourself the comfort that this person would be able to deliver what. I think for, maybe lastly what I will add is that, you know, building will take you, between your design and construction, if you have your funding, will take you more than a year. So know that whatever professional you are choosing, you are going to be with that person for a year. So make sure that you build a very good rapport and relationship with this person. Otherwise, once you start fighting, it will affect your building.
Very, very insightful thoughts. Look for an architect, a quantity surveyor, a services engineer, and all of those guys to help you do it. Don't be like my uncle who would just be calling the carpenter off the street and so on and so forth to do that. Edward says if you do that, your costs will be high at the end. Ivan, do you care to add some to this?
I think Edward has said most of it. At our end, we tell you hire a professional. If you hire a professional, you save yourself a cost from the later years. I believe it might sound expensive when you decide to hire a professional, but I realize that the end is why they're really worth it if you hire a professional. So basically, that's what I have on that.
Thanks, Ivan. So viewers, you heard that, hire a professional. Edward, maybe I should have picked this before that. Even before I get to all of these consultants, right? Or, okay, well, you mentioned an architect. I want to design that house of mine, you know, the layouts and all of that. What are some of the tips that you would share with us in designing that very efficient layout?
Yes, so I would say you should know yourself and you know your lifestyle. That should influence your design, and that's why I'm not too I don't like it when people say that, oh, in typical Ghana, Mr. Mensa Dine B. It doesn't work. Your lifestyle is different from Mr. Mensa. So whilst you engage the architect, he understands you, he understands your family, number of children, whether you want a study, whether you want a family area. All those things influences the layout. And for most architects, key things that they do, and I think it's important, is your room sizes. In Ghana, it's common for people to tell you that, so I want a house, but I want big rooms. I don't subscribe to big rooms because the bigger the building, the more expensive it becomes. Get an efficient size room for whatever, if it is a bedroom, if it's a room, get an efficient size bedroom. Sizes, and I think that will help. Also, in terms of layout, is the orientation of the building. It's important that the building is oriented so that you have what we call cross ventilation. It's important because if you don't have proper ventilation, it means that you are going to spend a lot of money on energy, either providing AC. You also are going to, if the orientation is right, that means that you don't even get sunlight coming into your house at the right time appropriately. So what then happens is that, and you see that in most houses, during the day, you walk through the houses and lights are on, and you wonder whether it's day or night.
Yeah. Thanks, Edward. So that's interesting. So building your dream home is also about your own lifestyle. Do not just say because Ivan has that kind of house, you also want that. But Edward, let's stay on that topic for a while. There's something I read recently on the internet. I'm told that even when it comes to the design of a house, you can actually start with a smaller unit and expand. Can you verify this information I read? And is it really practicable?
Yes, George. It's right, and that's why I earlier on mentioned about making sure that you are working within budget. So, obviously, I'll take maybe a young couple who decide to own their own home. At that point, they do not have children. But usually, what you see is they will say that, oh, I'm going to maybe have 2 or 3 children, so I need either 4 or 5 bedroom. And when they don't have kids, they have 5 bedroom, and that building doesn't get completed. It's important that once you have that aspiration, it's good. You can design so that your building grows with you. So you can get an architect to give you a design that is expandable. So as and when your family grows, you can add on the additional bedrooms, then it suits you. Otherwise, you have 2 or 3 bedrooms unoccupied, and then you are always spending money on them, and it's not the best way to go when it comes to developing your house.
Interesting thoughts. So, well, if you didn't know, you heard it here first. You can start building gradually. I'm going to do that. We'll start with my 1 bedroom, and hopefully, as my income grows and my family grows, I would increase. Ivan, just give me your thoughts on this as well. In choosing my materials, is it also a question of a lifestyle? Do you have, a mid-level budget, a high-level budget, material? Is it going to differ based on location where I'm building? Can you enlighten us on this?
Okay, so with construction, as I've come to know with my experience in here, there are certain things that are standardized. It might differ, and when you get to other places, there are things that depend on your budget, on your pocket, and your financial capability to have. When we are looking at, I will come from the point of roofing. When we are looking from the point of roofing, there are materials that are most suitable for a particular place. For example, an hollow zinc material is most suitable for inside a town, on a hilly area, other parts of town. But when we get close to the coast, we know that when you decide to go for an aluminium, we will decide to go for an aluminium material. All these are things and then bits you get from a professional or people with industry experience, and this will go a long way to minimize cost, and then you will be able to divert other funds to other parts of your project and get what you are looking for. So
Interesting. Yeah, thanks, Ivan. So, when it comes to materials, also look at your location, look at your lifestyle, and make a wise choice. So let's move on this journey. I have my layout. I've done my budget as Edward advised already. Now I want to start. Edward, what are my options when it comes to financing, this project? With where you said at First National Bank, what are the options? If I came to you and I said, I want to start my 2 bedroom expandable, what will be your advice on that?
Yes. So, fortunately, it's our business, and we do well to advise clients to make the right choices. So, usually, what we will do, we'll look at your design, we'll look at your bills of quantities, and also based on your income and age, we determine how much loan you would qualify for to be able to put up this house. If it's such that your income may not qualify you for that amount, we are always happy to advise you on how you can undertake the project in phases. What is important is to move in, and like I say, don't have an uncompleted building and then be renting a property. So you are renting, you are paying rent, and you have an uncompleted property. Rather, build in such a way that you can move in, so that you can be using your rent to be repaying your loan, rather than having an uncompleted property and then paying for rent. And we do that, and there's been quite a number of clients we've assisted in this direction, and it's really helped them. So it's a way of making sure that you develop a house that enables you to move in.
Very interesting. In fact, I would want us to stay on this because, typically people know that mortgages or home loans are only for purchasing houses. I think the key thing I'm learning today is that I can also take a mortgage to build my own house. And not only can I do that, I can actually build incrementally. You are there to guide me build in phases. But when people hear of loans, people jump, because, hey, it's tough. What tenures are we typically looking at? If I came for, because my understanding is this is not a short-term loan, Is it longer, and up to what period am I looking at this?
So obviously we have up to 20 years for you to pay this loan, but I always say this. You see, you take the loan and you move in. If you don't take the loan, what happens? Most people spend 5 to 10 years to build. So why don't you take the loan, move in and enjoy the house now, rather than wait 5 years, finish and move in? The world is changing. By the time you move in, there are so many things in the house that will be absolute. You realize that you don't need those things again. Look, windows are changing, ceilings are changing, light fittings are changing. So by the time you are moving in, you realize the light fittings you bought, you don't even need them again. You need to change them. So it's important that even though it's a 20-year journey, take the loan and move in now and enjoy the house now and not at the end.
Interesting. So my key takeaway here is that instead of building with funds from my own pockets while I'm still renting, and paying school fees and all of that, it is good to speak to First National Bank, get them to finance your house, complete it now. If you are watching us, they are going to help you complete it now, and then you can move in and not wait till 5 or 10 years. Ivan, so to you, do you offer some sort of, payment relief or payment plan for people looking also to buy materials from DBS?
We are most flexible in our payments in ways. We have sometimes people come in and they don't have the amounts to pay. So we ask them to pay whatever you have at the beginning. When we are up to about 70% of the cost, we go ahead, we produce for you. The remaining 30 is paid, and then we come and do the installation for you. So we are not upfront, give us your money, no. We take our time because we understand that building takes time, and then we want to help in any way that we can.
Building takes time, and we are here to help you. So if you have joined us, today's topic is helping you build your dream home effortlessly. As you listen to us, feel free to put in your questions in the chat box. We'll have a session where we'll have these wonderful gentlemen address them for us. We'll take a short break and come back. We'll have some few case studies to look at, and then we'll look at your comments and your questions as well. Thank you. Welcome back, viewers. We are still here to try and unlock and unpack how to build your dream home effortlessly. Today, we've been told that you can speak to First National Bank and access what they call a home construction mortgage. They are ready to help you finance the construction of your dream homes. Edward, just before the break, we're talking about these things, and before we pick the case studies, are you only going to look at financing my project, or do you have some sort of quality assurance built, at First National Bank to make sure that at the end of the day, what I have is a solid house for me?
Yes, so thank you, George. So, like I did mention, we in First National Bank see this as an investment. And if we are giving you money for 20 years, we obviously want to give you money for something that will live, as we say, the building life. So we advise our clients in their choices and in their decisions when it comes to building their houses. One of the key things we do, especially when you are taking a construction loan, is we don't give you all the money at a go. We give you the money in tranches. So the money is disbursed. We come to inspect what you've done before we give you the next tranche. At each stage of our inspection, we go out of our way to advise clients on some things we may have observed that needs to be corrected or they need to do right to make sure that at the end of the day, the money that would have been given you, you would have obtained value for what you built. And also at the end of the, we have our value. So you get technical advice along the way, and obviously they are not things we charge for, but it's value add so far as the service is concerned.
I like freebies. So there are free technical advice that you get on the way to building your dream home if you speak to First National Bank. So let's move on to some interesting case studies, we have here. I think by the time we discuss these case studies, it should speak to, the wants and needs of most of our viewers. So Shelley and Gilbert have always dreamed of building a custom home that suits their preference and needs. They own a piece of land where they want to build their house. They decide to use a construction mortgage or a construction home loans to finance the project. They research different lenders in the market. Shelley and Gilbert consult with their financial advisor to understand the terms, interest rate, and repayment plan. They estimate the total cost of construction, including material, labor, building permits, and other expenses. Gilbert suddenly switched thoughts to buying instead of building because the process might take a while before moving in. He will only be convinced if the bank can educate him on building rather than buying. So to my gentlemen here, I think the crux of it is Shelley and Gilbert are in a dilemma as to whether they should buy a house and move in now, or they should go through the whole construction process. What are the pros and cons, with this whole situation? We'll start with Edward.
Yeah, so to construct means that you have time. We have mentioned about putting together your design, getting building permits, sourcing for funding, and all that takes time. So building means that I would say, you have maybe between a year or two luxury time to be able to have the building completed to move in. But however, if these couple are hard pressed, and usually what happens is that people, they are renting a place, their landlord has either doubled or have come to ask that, look, next year I'm doubling the rent, and you think that having to pay that rent, if you are pressed with time, then it will make sense to buy rather than build. But it's also important that, like we did discuss, if it's your dream home, you need to plan. And so you should always make sure that you have time well ahead of you. Now, when it comes to constructing, you have also the luxury of determining your design. You have the luxury of choosing in terms of material what you want to use. However, when you are buying, you have to buy what's on the market. So you go to a typical developer and see what comes close to either your budget or what your expectations are. The other thing I will mention when it comes to construction is that it's nice to build. I'm a builder by profession, so I get excited when I see building. But what I've seen happen is that in the process of building, people let go of themselves. And before you realize, you mentioned a budget. Before you realize, you've gone out of budget because people might see things, they think they are nice, they have to. And also, people don't really keep to the discipline of completing within time. So before you realize, you may have planned 2 years, it will take you longer. So if they have the luxury of time, then I would advise they go through construction. But if they don't have the luxury of time, then they may be, my best bet is for them to buy and then build their dream home as a second house.
Thank you, Edward. If you have the time, go through the construction process. Just make sure you are disciplined enough not to go off budget and choose all the fancy things that you might not need. But if you don't have the time, then you should build. Ivan, I'm sure you would want to add to this. Build or buy?
That's been one of the questions in the real estate industry. You're either building or buying. For those of us actually getting our first homes, we don't really look at building. We want to buy. Some of us want to buy. But then, as Sadi said, if you have the luxury of time, I think it's beautiful to build. The building gives you the gift of personalization. Personalization in building is one of the most beautiful things in building. You get to put this light here. No, I don't like it. I want to change it. I want to put this here. I don't like it. I want to change it. Whereas as if you go and buy, you do not get the opportunity to personalize and change. It comes at a different cost. Any change comes at a cost. So normally, I tell people that who come around to me and are building, ask them, most of them are building their second homes. And I tell them, I ask them and they tell us, oh, I want to take my time and build. If you have the luxury of time, build. Take a few, say 2 years, as he has already 2 years, and then plan and then you build. And it's going to give you that satisfaction after. But if you can't actually take that, I think you should go and buy the building. So it's all about time.
Interesting perspective from Ivan. Just rehashing some of the points Eddie also made earlier. If you have the time, build, because every change would come at a cost. I can see we already have some questions coming in. We will take them once we're done with our second case study. So, gentlemen, and thank you for this. Let's move on to our second case study and see how we can help this couple as well. So, Eric and Josephine Addo, a young couple in their early 30s, have been renting an apartment for years. They recently decided it's time to build their dream home. It's a 3-bedroom house where they plan to raise a family and create lasting memories. They have a budget of 700,000 cedis and a vision of a spacious, modern, and environmentally friendly house. The adults want a spacious home with multiple bedrooms, an open concept living area, a home office, and a recreational room. They desire a contemporary design with large windows for natural light, a minimalistic aesthetic, and smart home feature. Sustainability is very important to them. They aim to incorporate energy efficient appliances, solar panels, and a water saving system. A backyard with a garden outdoor seating, and a space for kids to play is also a priority to them. They are looking for a quiet neighborhood with good schools and easy access to their workplace. How can they do all of this and still stick to the budget of 700,000 cedis? It sounds very impossible. Edward and Ivan, can you unlock this for us? Edward?
So, I like the case study for two reasons. One is this is a client who is very clear on what they want. So, based on the descriptions you gave, it would be very easy for any architect to come up with a design. It's good they also have an idea of how much they want to spend. Now, if I find myself in a position to advise them, we would usually start with their ballpark figure and be able to determine the size of building that they can deliver within that budget. It's important that, like I keep saying, I'm more passionate about the budget because make sure that in achieving that 3-bedroom, you are spending that amount. Because once you spend that amount, the other things that they mention can be done later. And like I said, the size of your building usually determines how much you are likely to spend. So you can have an initial design that can give you an idea of how much it costs. And it's easy to be able to have something within the 700,000. Now the next stage would be to break the building into what I call building elements. By building elements, I mean foundation, block, roof, ceiling, and windows, doors. Now, what you typically do will apportion the 700 according to these building elements. That gives you a good sense of how you are spending your money. Then, when you go to DBS to buy your roof, you know how much you want to spend on roof. So once you go there, you can engage them. Usually, I know what they will tell you is they will come and take measurements and give you a quote. But tell them this is how much you want to spend. And having dealt with them, they are professional enough to be able to advise you on how you can work within your budget. They have different types of roof, different guarantees on the different offerings they have. So with that breakdown into elements, you just make sure that for each stage you are spending within, so you know how much you're spending for foundation, you know how much you're spending on your tiling, you know how much you're spending on your windows. And the key thing is discipline. You have to stick to that discipline, because once you lose that discipline, you will go out of your budget, and then you should be ready to add more. And I think that most projects suffer because we make changes to our design without taking into consideration the costs of the changes we make.
Interesting. Ivan, I'll come to you in a second, but just to highlight some of the interesting points Edward makes here. So you're asking us to start with the essentials, even though, in my view, there are a lot of fancy things in here. You're saying we should look at the budget, plan and break them down, do the very things that can get the building running, and see what we can add on. That's very interesting. And then on your second point, you're advising that we break down according to the building elements and assign the budgets. And then on the last one, I think it's something you mentioned earlier on, be disciplined and stick to your budgets. Ivan, so from where you sit, how can you help this couple if they came to you and said, this is our budget, 700,000, want to build this 3-bedroom? From where you sit on the building material side of things, what would you add to what Edward has said already?
So it's from the angle from where I sit as a building material, we are looking at roofing specifically. She wants to do the roofing. There are varied materials for varied situations or varied construction needs. When it comes to this particular project, 700,000 is good money, but it may not be enough to actually get it, but it depends on how they want to attack it. So if it comes to us and then we look at the budget, what is allocated for roof, or what is allocated for block, what is allocated for that. As I said, the essentials, they are standardized. There's very little. What we might be able to help you with are discounts, and then there are other things, other materials that we can introduce to you to take care of that. Further, if there's a point where we have to come in and then advise on certain things to reduce your cost. You know what I mean? If you want advice, we always give you that advice. So it's more of the discussion and then what you are looking to spend, and then we can work around whatever you are using to spend or are willing to spend on the project.
Thank you. So if the adults are listening, your dream is possible. Speak to these professionals and they can help you realize the dream. Start from what is possible and then move on and add all the extras. So like I said earlier on, keep your questions coming. We already have some of them that will be taken in a bit, but keep them coming and then we'll get the opinions of these professionals as we have them. So, gentlemen, as we've been having this conversation, we've had some comments coming in. Let me take them and get your opinion on them. So the first one is from Dictus. Dictus said, "Hi, I got the impression that I need to have a budget before I start building. Does that mean that if I don't have the full amount to build, I can't start at all? Kindly throw more light on that." So Edward, I think this is something you spoke to about earlier. Can you rehash on that for us?
Okay, so maybe just to explain the point is people, what I said, the people will say they want a 3-bedroom, but they will not tell you how much they want to spend. And then they will begin with a 3-bedroom, and then they keep going and have no idea of how much to spend. What I'm advising is, yes, you want a 3-bedroom, but know how much that 3-bedroom will cost before you start that journey. Maybe because you do not have how much that 3-bedroom will cost, it will make sense to start with a 2-bedroom that you can add a 3rd bedroom later. So it's not that you should have all the money before you start. Decide on what you want in terms of the size. Know how much it will cost before you start building. If what you want, you don't have enough to cover that, obviously you can have your professionals advise you on what that money can do, so you can move in and then you can add on the other things later.
Yeah, so Edward, let's stay on that. So what you're saying is Dictus should not start building the very big house with the little money he has. Rather, you advise that he can build something expandable. So he starts with a little money, builds a 1-bedroom, and then expand in the future. Is that the point you're making?
Yes, that's the point. And the other thing maybe I could even add is you can build the 3-bedroom. You can do the shell and have it roofed, but you don't need to finish all the 3 bedrooms. You can do your living room, kitchen, and 1-bedroom and move in. That will cost you less than what maybe the entire 3-bedroom would have cost you. But that's why we are always there to advise our clients. If it's possible to do that, you can do the whole 3-bedroom, but you can just finish certain portions and move in. Or you can just do 2-bedroom and add a 3rd bedroom later, depending on how much money you have from the beginning. We don't want you to spend your money and still be renting.
The other option I'll add for you, Dictus, is to speak to First National Bank if your budget is not enough, and we are happy to provide funding for you to support you. We take the second question. This is from Kofi Kran, and maybe Ivan will help us with this. What are some of the tips for a smooth transition when moving into my new home? I think Kofi is envisaging that in the future he's done and he wants to move into the new home. Ivan, what do you advise?
Well, when you are moving into your new home, at least you've done the major part of actually building the house and you're moving into your new home. I believe that we move the most essential ones first and get the if there's a building inspector to actually come and inspect whatever is being done. If there are small changes that need to be done, if there are small corrections that need to be done, I believe that it's the time to actually take time and then look at those corrections that need to be done before you move in. It will be much better if you have that checked and done before you move in than to be there and then have issues later. For example, if there are leakages somewhere, if there's a busted pipe, if there are foundational defects somewhere, at least those times we're able to check and then correct it later to actually be able to allow you to move into your house. That's what I think.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you. Um, so let's see. The questions keeps coming. So Grace is asking that as a woman working with a male building professional team, what should I know about inspections and quality control during construction? Edward, I'll come to you on this. Very interesting points from Grace.
So I mentioned earlier that in selecting your team, get recommendations, look at what the people have done, inspect what they've done before. And she doesn't need to be technical. All she needs is to have her expectation clearly communicated to these professionals and hold them accountable to deliver. Sometimes I think what happens is we do not hold our professionals accountable for the things we pay them to do. And in that process, people turn themselves as engineers, I would say, or architects, when they don't have any idea and end up making more mistakes. So if you have a certain expectation, communicate that expectation to your team. Let them know exactly what you want to achieve in your dream home. And I'll say demand it from them, because that is why you are paying them. And it's important that they deliver to your satisfaction.
Thanks, Edward. So Grace, if you heard Edward, have your expectations clearly spelled out and demand delivery from the team. I think Dictus is back again. And Dictus is quite interested in the home construction. So Dictus says, how exactly does the home construction at First National Bank work? What happens if as a customer, I'm unable to complete the building within the period given? Would you give me additional funds to finish it up if the amount disbursed is not sufficient due to rapid inflation on materials? A very interesting time. A very interesting question for these interesting times. Yeah, Edward.
Yeah, so like I did mention, it's important that you get the best of advice. And what we don't advise is when a loan has been approved, having to draw down on additional loan. It's not the best, because at the point where the loan is determined, it's based on how much you earn. So if it so happens that you are not able to complete and you need additional funding, it's not something that is good for you as the client. And that is why, like I mentioned, we will give you the money in tranches. We will inspect. At any point where we think that prices have gone up, you are struggling, we will advise you, and we've done that for a number of clients. We will advise you in such a way that whatever money you have, you can complete the units and move in. We won't advise that you spend more money on it. And I think that it is how you apportion the budget for your developments. You can obviously move in, and you can trust us to help you on that score.
So the key thing for me here, Dictus, is that First National Bank will not disburse all the funds to you. They will break it in tranches and make sure they take the journey with you. At every stage, they will come and ensure that you are on track, and make sure by the time you're done, you have a complete building to move on. And yeah, thanks, Edward. We still have some contributions here. So Delali Sosu has contributed. He says, if you have sufficient cash, buy and be free from a reputable real estate company, or take a mortgage, of course, from First National Bank and relax. Well, I think that's a comment. So thanks, Delali. We have a question from Felicia Ajedu. He says, please, do you have a particular requirement for giving out the loan? My husband has an uncompleted chamber income. So Edward, to you again, what are generally your requirements if Felicia wants to assess the home construction loan with the husband for this?
Yeah, so for home construction, we expect that you have the basic document, as we say, I'll say title to the land, or you have an indenture and your site plan. And once you have that, you have started. So obviously, what that means is that you need money to complete. You will require a bills of quantities to be able to tell us how much you need to complete. We also require that based on your income, we will also do an assessment to be able to see how much you will qualify for. And like I did mention, if based on your income you do not have enough to be able to complete the building, we will advise you on the best way you can complete to move in. So key things is you should have a copy of your indenture and site plan. You should have your bills of quantities, you should have your drawings, you should have your building permit. At least those are the initial things we require on the property. And then more important, it's your income details, your age. Obviously you'll be able to tell us, and then we use that to assess on how much loan to give you. And then we'll advise you, once we know how much loan we'll give you, we'll advise you on the next steps.
So Felicia, if you had Edward, come with your land documents, your building drawings, your bills of quantities. Even if you don't have these documents, come with the land documents and speak to us at First National Bank, and we can help you. But actually, Edward, I'm thinking, Felicia mentioned that the husband, and I don't know if you touched on that earlier. Can Felicia borrow together with the husband, or you are just going to look at one person's income?
Yes, so we do joint applications, and most especially if it's a husband and wife, it's much more easier, and it's even more interesting when you do loans like that. That one you are certain that it will be paid. So we can do a joint application for both of them, and usually what happens is that once we do that joint application, you are likely to get more money to be able to complete the home.
Thanks. Felicia, you are in luck. So come with your husband. We would consider both applications, both incomes, and then give you something that works for you. I think we have a last question here. Do you also help in getting the land, since that's where the construction starts from? Edward, I think this is directed to you at First National Bank.
So what we do is, because we find ourselves in this industry or space, we have partners, land agents, we have land developers, we have developers who, apart from just building, they also have land. So once you speak to us, we should be able to directly, once we also know which area you are looking for and what your budget is, we can always refer you to most of our partner developers so that you can engage them.
Thanks. So speak to First National Bank, call us on the numbers, walk into our branches, and we can provide you with the needed assistance. So gentlemen, before we wrap up, what will be your final take on everything that we have said? I know you've given us loads and loads of advice, on how to build our dream home. Ivan, your departing words for us as we wrap up.
So, the first things I want to say is, as we want to enter into a building or we want to construct your own house, it is expedient that you first, as we've already said, engage the services of a professional. It is most expedient and cost effective to engage the services of a professional. Ask questions. As you also wanna be involved in project in construction. You ask questions. When you go to your site and you don't understand anything, ask questions, because the more you ask questions, it brings them to understand that you know what you're about, and then keeps them on their toes. I mean, with regards to your artisans and all the other people, keeps them on their toes, and then they know not to mess around. So if you go ahead, ask questions, and you contact professionals to help you, you will be able to construct. And if you need more money and you need more money, contact First National Bank. I believe they will be able to give you what you're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's Ivan from DBS Industries. Before we take Edward's final words on this, we'll just have a quick video from DBS Industries before Edward gives us his departing words.
If your landlord say come up for house, so you go there right now. No key, you go call your boys, wrong move, that no be safe right now. Yeah, small world, social media, small yeah, but you go trend right now. Hashtag landlord sack my boy for house, my dad eat there right now. Now that's in Boakye right now. Okay, listen real quick, you need a home.
But my money small, how I go figure my own?
First National Bank got you covered, no be joke. Walk straight to any branch, they go sort ya, be you know. Bruh, bet you don't know one from Uncle Low. Make you a landlord, that's the bandolo. No take your house.
Hi, welcome back. So, Edward, your departing words as we leave here.
So I think for anybody who's been on this show, you are certain that you are going to have your dream home. You are not going to make the mistakes people have done in the past. We've talked about having a budget, working within the budget. Don't start building and go to sites and say that the rooms are too small. We should increase the room sizes. Every decision you make goes along with costs. So if you decide that you want to increase your bedroom sizes, know that it's going to cost you more, and you have enough funds to be able to cover for that. It's also important that you don't start and have an uncompleted building. Complete move in. Don't stay in a rented building whilst you have uncompleted building. And finally, maybe to add is finish the house now and move in rather than complete later when the house will be old-fashioned.
Don't stay in a rental building while you spend money building as well. Gentlemen, I can't thank you both enough for the very insightful and key lessons you've given us today. I have learned that to start my building, I need to start small, build a 1 or 2 bedroom, and increase along the line. Even with all the fancy things that I can add on, it's good to start with the very essentials that my budget can support. And of course, speak to First National Bank, where there's a home construction mortgage available for me. DBS has also indicated that look at your lifestyle in choosing the material that you want, and they are also ready to help you. Thank you all for joining today's Home Chats edition. It's been wonderful for me. Make sure that you reach out For all the enquiries that was not answered here, the team from DBS and First National Bank will be more than willing to address your concerns. You can visit any of the branches for First National Bank in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, and Takoradi. And for each of these branches, the mortgage consultant will help you unlock further any questions that you have. Alternatively, you can call First National Bank on 024-243-5050. You can reach out to First National Bank on 024-243-5050. Also reach out to our colleagues at DBS and they would help you with that. So DBS, you can reach them on 024-08-44444. Send them an email at info@dbsghana. Do look out for the next edition of the Home Chat series from First National Bank. In case you joined later and you couldn't also join from the beginning, go on our YouTube pages and our Facebook pages and you can get all the very insightful solutions that our gentlemen here gave us. It's us, the rest of the team, saying goodbye to you. Thank you and bye-bye.
Plenty rewards, bank from boy to a man. Digital with a plan, bank Peter Pan. If money be sushi, this bank be Japan. No cap where we did. First National Bank. Are you true? First National Bank. 21. First National Bank. We go hold you down. First National Bank. 21. First National Bank. Are you true? First National Bank. 21. First National Bank. We go hold you down. First National Bank. If your landlord say come up for house, so you go there right now. No key, you go call your boys, wrong move, that no be safe right now. Yeah, small world, social media, small yawa, you go trend right now. Hashtag landlord sack my boy for house, my daddy there right now. Now that's in Boakye right now. Okay, listen real quick, you need a home.
But my money small, how I go figure my own?
First National Bank got you covered, no be joke. Walk straight to any branch, they go sort you, you know.